superannuation, a contentious issue, I think. I mean, I'm told by local members, even in blue ribbon seats, they're getting a hell of a reaction from their electorate. Are you?
I've had questions asked and I've explained what we're doing.
It's more than that, isn't it? They're furious.
No, they understand that we needed to make the superannuation system sustainable. It has to have integrity in it. It is not a tax minimisation vehicle. It is not an estate planning vehicle. It is for retirement income. We've now legislated an objective. Government can be held to that objective. We are ensuring that lower income people are better off. In fact, 96% of people are either better off or not affected by the changes.
Okay, but let's be honest with people. It is not just the top 4%, is it?
Well, that's my understanding.
What's wrong? What do you think about transition to retirement income?
Neil, what we're seeking to do is ensure that there's integrity in the system. It's not retrospective. We're talking about the future tax rate on retirement income.
What about transition to retirement? Let's focus on that. Explain that.
It's still one of the most concessional and generous schemes.
All right, explain the transitional scheme.
In which, well, the 1.6 million is
no, not the 1.6 million. The transitional.
I'm coming to the 500,000 is also a cap.
Yep.
We've also, and that's non-concessional. So we've also ensured that those who are on lower incomes, those who are coming in and out of the workforce, like women, those between ages between 65 and 75, are able to continue putting into superannuation.
But I'm not asking that. I'm asking a transition to retirement.
Those who are now coming into the stage of wanting to start putting away for their retirement.
Are you aware of the transition to retirement scheme?
Well, I'm certainly aware that we have one, yeah.
How does it work?
Well, Neil, this is obviously a gotcha moment. You want me to go through?
No,
I think it's not my portfolio. And
this is the hole in your whole logic. You're saying it's only 4% of taxpayers. You, Josh Frydenberg, neither of you understand transition to retirement. That's clear. And this is where you're hitting average people, not the fat cats, the average people.
Well, I don't accept that that's the case because I've had a briefing on this and I'm told that 96% of people are either better off or are not affected by it.
I should suggest you have a closer look at the briefing because that is clearly wrong, Minister. If you don't understand transition to retirement, you can't see that. The transition to retirement scheme affects somewhere between 80 and 500,000 people, and it's putting a new tax on them, a 15% tax.
Well, I've heard Kelly O'Dwyer speak on this. She's the Assistant Treasurer. This is her portfolio, and she said that that's not the case.
Well, she doesn't deny there's a 15% tax going on, and she doesn't deny that it affects some lower people on 70 grand are ringing me. It's hitting them. They're not fat cats, are they?
Neil, we have now put in place a far more effective superannuation scheme. And there have been changes, but they were necessary changes. I was talking to someone in Melbourne the other day.
But hang on, let's not avoid the issue. You may be right. Maybe they are necessary. My problem is that the government is saying it's only the 4% of fat cats. That is untrue. When I asked Josh Frydenberg, former Assistant Treasurer, he doesn't know. I asked you, former Shadow Treasurer, you don't know. I would suggest to you that the government doesn't understand what it's doing here.
Well, I don't believe that that's the case, Neil.
Well, explain it to me.
Well, we have put in place, in terms of non-concessional, we've put in place a cap at 500,000. The average balance that a superannuant has at present, going towards retirement, is about 280,000. So those will have the opportunity to get to the 500,000 cap. There are others who the $1.6 million cap applies to, and neither of those. Neither of those schemes are retrospective.
Let's move on. If my 1.6 million goes up to 2 million through canny investments, what happens?
Well, the 1.6 million is where the tax-free threshold is. After that, there's 15% on earnings.
So if you earn more over the 1.6 million, so it goes up to 200, that's a 2 million, arguably, you've got to pay 15% on that extra earnings off the extra 400. Is that right? How often is it assessed? And what if it goes down?
Well, these are all issues that people will seek advice on. I'm not going to give people financial advice.
That's not financial advice, that's policy advice. This is your policy. What happens if I've got 1.6 million there and I lose money in the stock exchange, it goes down to $1 million, I'm earning less? What happens then? Can I top it up?
Well, obviously the 1.6 million is the highest level that we can get. The 15%, the over 1.6 million is the 15%. Now, my point is this. We have a generous superannuation scheme. We have made some changes that were set out in the budget. these changes will be legislated should we win the next election.
Okay,
They will come into effect from the 1st of July 2017. And I'm advised by the Secretary of the Treasury and by the Treasurer and the Assistant Treasurer that 96% of Australians will either be not affected or better off.
And the unintended consequences you've referred to in the past, what are they? You said
well, you only legislate for intended consequences, and the intended consequences were set out on budget night.
Well, is it possible that the transition to retirement changes are catching people of lower income and that's an unintended consequence?
Well, I'm not aware of that.